back to another week of Let's Talk About This Way. One of your favorite podcasts starting off here. It's a good evening for us, but it's going to be a good morning for our guest over here, Reis, because he is across the world, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Just a quick shout out here to the band Hannah. You guys are awesome. It's a band, Simi Valley, California. It's a couple young guys doing their own thing. Appreciate you guys letting me use your music for the intro and outro. Give them a listen, guys. They're on Spotify, YouTube, Bandcamp, Apple Music. You name it, they're probably on it. It's the new world. There's so many streaming devices and apps and whatnot. Anyways, thank you guys over there. Now, before we dive into this guest right here, I'm just going to let you know a couple cool things happening here. We're going to dive into quite a bit. We've got a producer, we've got a musician, and we got a medium? A medium? Okay. This is interesting. This is what Let's Talk About This Way is all about. So get ready to dive in this. We're going to dive into Reis Armstrong's story. Reis, good morning in Bali. How we doing, man?
Amazing, my man. Life is good. I mean, I always say as long as I'm healthy, I won't complain. So,
Amen to that, brother. Amen. Well, perfect, man. So a little thing we like to do here, obviously you're in Bali. We'll talk about why you're out there. We want to know a little bit about Reis. We want to know where you grew up, where you were born, a little bit of your your upbringing, just to kind of
yeah,
see what you're doing now, right? It's important for us to paint a picture of your journey to show others how much things can change, what trajectories life can go. So let's start there.
for sure. Well, it's a bit of a story. My mom was pregnant with me when she was 13. Okay.
Okay.
So there's that. So, I mean, she had me at 14, and it was, this was also like the 80s. So it was like the
Mm.
time of like, it wasn't the time of like social media. And so my grandmother didn't know that she was pregnant until she was 6 months pregnant. And so yeah,
Wow.
right.
Okay.
And so once that was just finally discovered, my mom was then sent to live in a group home for teenage girls. And so I was pretty much born in a group home in LA, with the intention to give me up for adoption. But then once my mom had me, she was like, absolutely not. So,
Mm. Wow.
yeah. And so her and my dad sort of like concocted this plan to like pretty much, I went to foster care. So that did happen. I did go to foster care, but they somehow like had this plan to like get me out of it. My dad made some calls to some family members, and next thing I know, my mom had me, and we were, um, leaving the state, going back to the state where my dad and my mom were actually from, which is Illinois. And and yeah, so that she persevered through it all, and she wanted her son, so here I am.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
Amazing that,
yeah,
I that itself is wild, right?
yeah,
Like to
yeah.
have a child that young, that early, the
Mhm.
fear that's going on, right? And then your mom being in a group home. I can't imagine what she's going through. But at
Yeah,
the end of the day, you guys got back together, you guys figured
right.
it out, and then you
100%.
guys went to Illinois, is that right?
Yeah. And
So,
it's funny because like this was also again, this was the 80s, so like no one knew where she was because the intention was to like, let her my mom would have the baby, and then she would go back home to Illinois, and no one would ever know that she had a baby, right? Because
mm,
that was the time in those days where like you could do stuff like that. Like if you were to get pregnant, they would send their kids south or somewhere, away, and then they would come back home, and no one would ever know. And so that's why
wow.
so many people back in those days were, they don't know who their parents are because that was what was happening. But that's not my story. Gratefully, I grew up with my families. I had a very amazing childhood. I have no complaints. I grew up in a very amazing village, to say the least. Like I was raised with morals and respect, and I just had the best like childhood. Christmases and Thanksgivings and Easter's with my cousins. Like I had a very full childhood. So all things considered,
That's amazing, brother. I love to hear it. So
yeah,
you didn't really have to see so much of, because I'm sure you were just very tiny when that was going on,
yeah,
right? Very
right.
tiny. So not really stuff that you can remember as much, more
No,
compared to the great memories happen as a child, right?
right, exactly,
Okay,
exactly,
gotcha. So
exactly.
where did you live most of it? So is it in Illinois?
So th- we are come from a very nomadic family. So
Okay.
I was born in LA, but I wasn't really raised there. I did live there for like when I was in like third and fourth grade. But it was between Illinois and Wisconsin, Texas. I called New Orleans home. So like I lived in Atlanta as well. So it's like I've lived in like six, seven different
Hmm.
states. But for me, I always say that New Orleans has always felt the most home for me. And
Okay.
so I called New Orleans home by way of Illinois because I was conceived in Illinois. Like my that's where my mom and my dad met. So that's why I say Illinois. So like if I go back home to like my great grandmother's house, I'm going to Illinois. But when I think about like what has always spoken to my soul the most has always been New Orleans. So
Gotcha. And when you say nomadic, is that I always like to think that when I hear of nomadic family, is usually some military involvement, anything like that, or just you guys are moving out and
everyone
about?
thinks that, but no, like so the
Okay.
thing was that we have family everywhere in about at least 20, 30 states. And so wherever we have family at, that's where we would go. Like
Okay. Okay. So I'm just like
just
the
like that.
101st person that said maybe you guys are in the military.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's cool,
Exactly.
man. That has to make
Yeah.
for such a diverse and such a unique, upbringing just because you get to see
Yeah.
different states, meet different friends. I mean, how much that attribute to the friendships that you made over the years?
Well, it's funny because growing up in so many different places, like you always kind of have like this internal like identity crisis, like who am I? Where am I really from? Because it's like,
Mm,
well, like people like if I say I'm from this place, they're like, well, you didn't go to high school. Here's how you from there, right? Or if I say I'm from here, well, you didn't go to elementary school. So how are you from here? So it's just like it's you never like really have a home, right?
yeah.
People always consider you being from somewhere else that you don't consider yourself being from. So there's that. But it does teach you how to be adaptable and how to adjust to any environment. And so like I have friends, from all walks of life. Like I can fit in with any crowd, whether it's like, people from the hood or people from, the high end society. So it's like it teaches you how to be a chameleon in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a good take on that. So, because you're exposed to different types of people, different types of upbringing, so it's almost like you took that kind of identity crisis. 'Cause you're not really sure what blending into what, but you took to a
Hmm.
strength to be able like, hey, I can really hang out with anyone, I can commute with anyone, I can hang. Like
Exactly.
that's really cool. In a way,
Exactly.
man, I kind of feel like that. I really do, and
Yeah. Oh,
I
really?
tell you
Okay.
that. But I mean, like, I grew up around, I got really lucky, right? I went to, my parents had put me through a Catholic school all my life, right? Bless
Yeah.
my mom. My mom, very Catholic herself, wants to see the Catholic
Yeah.
upbringing. I'm not the best Catholic out there. I love God, so be it, right? But like, I got really lucky to grow up with like some very close friends, right? Like friends that I've known
Yeah.
from kindergarten, eighth grade, and through high school, right? But it's interesting because some people will say you're able to talk to anyone, right? It doesn't matter. And for me, it's a legit joy of just being with people and being around people, right? Like
Right.
it doesn't matter. It's like I love getting to know anyone, getting to know their story. It's almost like if I could be everyone's friend in the world, that's what I would love to do,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
But it does like for a while it did bother me because it was like you kind of have like this, I don't know if you want to call it imposter syndrome, but it's just
Hmm.
like you don't really have a home, right? So it's like, so for example, I've never lived anywhere in my life longer than 3 years, ever.
Wow.
Ever. Right. So it's like, well, with that, well, where are you from? If you've never had like a consistent home for 3 years,
Hmm.
at most. And so when I say that New Orleans has always felt like home, that's the city that I've always felt the most connected to. But people who were born and raised there would say, well, you're not from New Orleans because you wasn't born and raised in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it's always like that sort of like internal conflict of like, am I from where I was born, or am I from where I was raised, or am I from where I was conceived? Am I from where I live? So it's just like it's always like this internal conflict of sorts. But yeah, I just feel like I always say, well, at this point, it's like, well, I was conceived in Illinois, so I would say, I'm from Illinois by way of New Orleans, and that's just that.
That's great, brother. I love that. And you're putting that statement out there now. Do you, I think I may know the answer, but I could be wrong here because you're confident answer, which I love. Do you still battle at all with people? Because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but people from New Orleans can be very prideful, which is amazing because they love where they're from and who they are.
100%.
Do
Yeah.
you still deal with that at all today? If someone, if you let's say you would go to some New Orleans, local, maybe out there, I don't know, maybe we're out there in Bourbon Street having a blast. You tell people from New Orleans and
Yeah.
they ask, oh yeah, where you born? You tell them your story. do you think you'd still get the no, you ain't from New Orleans? And if they do, like, I know you're confident in that, which I love. It is that. That's that. You're
Yeah,
from that's your home, but do you still
right.
get that little feeling of just like, oh, I hate that people still do that?
Um, Sometime because like it's, I think it more so comes from maybe from family, if anything, especially like my family who were raised in one spot in one location, and I wasn't. So it's just like so because we come from the same source of like the same background, like we have like the same grandparents or the same great grandparents rather, and so because of that, it's like well because we all come from this small town. Just say you're from this small town, Peoria, actually, in Illinois. Um, but it's like, well, yeah, you grew up there, but I didn't grow up there. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I was there with, for Christmas and summers and things like that. But like, I don't have childhood friends from Peoria. Like, I lived in Milwaukee as well. I don't have childhood friends from Milwaukee. I grew up in Houston. I don't have childhood friends from Houston. I have one. But when it comes to New Orleans, all of my childhood friends are from New Orleans. Like that's who I've always been connected with. So I'm just like you can't please everybody. So as long as I feel at home in the city, that's just what it's gonna be for me. And whenever I think about when I say I'm going back home, I'm going to New Orleans.
I love it. All
So
right, y'all, you heard it. Reese,
yeah.
that's his home, New Orleans. You ain't saying nothing
That's it.
else. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's
But
it.
also
Nothing
I just
else.
realized like I'm a global citizen as well. Like and
Yeah.
as a traveler, that's just what it is. Like even in my adult life, I've never lived anywhere longer than 3 years. Even in my adult life. So
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So,
yeah.
obviously, we know you're a bit of a nomad, which is awesome. I look at your Instagram profile. I'll tell you what, guys. I'm gonna make this break here right now. Do me a favor. You're gonna see his handle at the end of the episode. Follow this man's page. Look at
Yeah.
this man's life. Live vicariously through this guy. Because I'm telling you what, I look at his profile. I go, oh my God, Bali looks awesome. I want to go play
It
some
is.
pickleball over there. What do they call it? Paddleball there?
Yeah. Paddle, yeah, paddle.
They call it paddle there.
It's similar to pickle, but it's not the exact same. It's similar.
Oh, okay. So it's
No, it's
not
not the same.
pickleball.
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
okay, okay.
And like if you say that, like those are fighting words to some
Okay.
people.
Let's get into this real quick. Tell me what paddle is. I just want to know now.
You honestly, so to be fair, I'm not, the an expert on paddle. I've only played like 6 times to be
Okay.
fair, but but it's also similar. It's like a cross between pickleball and tennis, from what I was told. I don't know how to play either of those because I've never done it before.
Okay.
But it could be a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2 player game, and then pretty much it's just like you go from I think the score goes up to 11. So whoever gets to 11 first, and it's just like you can hit the sides and the back, but you can't. But the ball has to bounce on the ground first. It's a whole bunch of weird rules. But like once you get in the groove of it, like it's so fucking addictive. Like I play like maybe like 3 times a week now, 2 times a week now. I
Hey,
actually play today.
that's good exercise, good
It
cardio.
is.
What,
Yeah, so like I burn like 900 calories in an hour. Like you be moving, like
and it's
you be
fun.
moving, and it's
And
and
it's
it's fun.
fun.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's better than being on the treadmill for sure.
1,000%. Anything's better than the treadmill, to be honest here,
Exactly.
all right?
Yeah.
But man, when you get back in the US, you're gonna be just fine if you try to play pickleball, man. I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah.
paddleball's the same. So anyone out there in Bali, I swear to God, I'm not saying it's the same. I've listened to Reese. I believe him. Well,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, obviously though, his profile is filled with some really cool stuff. He's traveling the world, so I just got to make that quick announcement there. Reese, so you're traveling throughout different states growing up. Did you
Mhm.
go to college?
I did. I went to school in Florida. Well, I went to 2 schools actually. I went to my first school was the Art Institute of Atlanta,
Okay.
but it's been shut down for fraud. So there's that.
Hmm.
And then yeah, as schools do. Um, so I went there for a year for cinematography and videography. Went there for a year after high school, and then I couldn't finish because it was too expensive and I couldn't get a proper loan to pay for it. So I had to like drop out. And so in the midst of me dropping out, like I really wanted to go back to school. I wanted to stay in school. I never wanted to drop out, but like financially I couldn't. And so I remember like one time I I made a sign that said it was a cardboard sign, and it said need money for college fund. That's what I wrote on it. And I took that sign and I stood on the side of a highway. If you know Atlanta, it's 75, 85, that highway that cuts through the downtown. I took that sign, me and my brother, my big brother, shout out to him. because he was a trooper. Like he was like, if you're doing it, I'm doing it. You know, he was like he was riding with me, and we took those signs and we walking up and down, you know, the exit ramp, and just like, yeah, I did that, and I think like looking back, I think I was really embarrassed by that, but it was also it showed me like how hungry and determined that I was to like make it happen.
Well, I was gonna say that's kudos right there. I don't think
Yeah,
many people at all would do that. You know what I mean? But it shows like, hey, whatever it takes.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like whatever it takes, and we shouldn't be
100%.
embarrassed about that, right? I can't
Yeah,
imagine someone trying to look down, trying to say something if they're not coming from a similar scenario or know what it means to try to do everything you can to do what you
hmm,
want in this life, right?
yeah,
There's so many
yeah,
people who could probably look down and be like, "Oh, I could never," blah blah blah, and it's like, yeah, but you also got some entitlements to you. I feel
right,
like the people that do that kind of have entitlements. They don't understand like
right,
some of us are willing to do whatever it takes. You know what I mean? Regardless of the circumstance. So I
yeah,
think that's pretty innovative. I think that's cool. I think it's, hey, whatever it takes at that point. You know what I mean? Because that's how important that is to you, right?
100%. And you know, it's funny because I remember, um, this was what 2009, maybe yeah, 2008, 2009, and I worked at this grocery store called Kroger's in Atlanta, and I remember sitting on the bus stop. And it was like in this ritzy area of Atlanta called Buckhead, and I remember I was on the bus stop, and I was just like I kept seeing all these these um, six-figure cars passing me by, right? And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, when will it be my time? Right, on this bus stop in front of my job. When is my time coming? And so fast forward like maybe 10 years later, I'm in television now, and I get this TV gig. It's in Atlanta, and so working in production, whenever you fly somewhere, they normally have like production pick you up from the airport to transport you, and so production, I have my own like chauffeur, whatever, from the airport, from Atlanta airport to my apartment in Atlanta that I was staying in for the show, and I drive past that that ramp exit that I was at like 10 years prior with that same sign, and I was like, oh shit. So then it gets even crazier. I um I then get to my hotel and I open my window and it's like I'm in like the Ritz Carlton or some shit like that. And it was like I was on maybe like the 15th, 16th floor, 16th story. And I look down and I see that same bus stop that I had sat at 10 years ago when I was asking myself, when will it be my time? And I just started crying. So I was just like, I fucking did it. Like I
It
fucking did it.
it's a fucking full cycle moment, man.
Yes, yes,
It's a full
yes,
cycle moment. I mean,
yes.
that's what people
Ball was
want in this
crying.
life. I
Yeah.
believe it. I
Ball
believe it.
down like, and it's just like, you know, that 10-year difference, like a lot happened in that 10, like it wasn't easy, you know, but it was so worth it. It was all so worth it. So yeah, so I did all that, and then I went to my next university, which was in Orlando. That's where I got my degree from. So I got my degree in musical production from there. So, and that was in this school called Full Sail University. It's like an art school, and that changed my life. And I got my first through that school. I got my first TV job. So that's how I got started.
Okay. What was your first TV job?
The Real World. Remember
Get
that
the
show?
fuck out of here. The
Yeah,
real world?
The Real World.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that show. I remember watching
yeah,
that. Probably watching it a
yeah,
lot younger than I probably should. I'm thinking
yeah.
like,
No,
wow,
same.
is this the adult life? This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I worked on that. I worked on the very last season that was on television.
Which one was that? Real World
Seattle.
Seattle?
It's a Real World Seattle. Yep. I think
Okay.
was it Real World 16, I think? No, it was Real World 32. Yeah, I think it was Real World 32.
Okay.
Season
So
30.
so what were you doing as your first TV gig? What was your responsibilities on that show?
I was a logger. So basically we would like what we would ingest all this footage, like this raw footage from the actual shoot, and we would like transcribe everything. Now
Mm.
they probably have AI to do all that shit, so I'm sure the job is obsolete now. But yeah, we would transcribe the scene, you know, word for word, and send it off to the editor so they know what's happening within those scenes, and that was my start. And I had the night shift. I think I worked from I want to say 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. I think it was overnight because like in TV you work 12 hours a day. It's like no, actually that's not true. Well, you do work 12 hours a day, but I think in post you work 9 hours a day. So I think my schedule was probably like 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Yeah.
Were you just already excited though the moment you got your first gig?
Yeah, and you know it's crazy because I knew it was like destined because so little backstory. My dad was killed, right, and he died on July the 5th. Um, and my first TV gig started on July the 5th.
Hmm.
So I took that as it was just like a note from him, like a nod from him, like, here you go. Like I can't give you much, but I can give you this. That's how I looked at it.
I like how you look at life, man. I really
Yeah.
do. That right there says a lot to me because I feel there's a lot of symbolism behind things
Hmm.
that happen, like an event that happens within a very short time frame or on that same day. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. 100%. And I think that was also like another full circle moment.
100%. It's. I almost feel bad people that don't see those things as signs from the universe. Whatever you want to believe in, right? But
Yeah.
like something is showing you
Yeah.
something here, right?
100%.
And that's a beautiful way to look at it. And you know, sorry to hear about your father, but I mean, if he gave you this nod right here, what an amazing life that's turning out to be for you.
Yeah. 100%. And just like I knew then like that I was onto something with this.
Well, obviously now you're in Bali and living life.
Right. Right.
So okay, so
Yeah.
first gig, real world Seattle. You're a logger. How many how many other gigs between then and what you're doing now? I don't really know like the TV world, so I don't know how many years
Yeah.
or how long certain gigs take.
You know, I had a very fast trajectory. So I started in 2016 and 2017 I was a producer.
So 1 year.
Yeah.
What's the
one
usual
year.
track record for people to go from loggers to
It
producers?
it it can be some time. Yeah. Like years
What do you
typically.
think attributed to
Hey.
your fast success?
I just think what's for you is for you because, and I think sometimes like people see things in you who that you don't see in yourself.
Okay.
So, for example, when I first got into television as a logger, that's we call that post production, right? So you have pre-production, you have production, and then you have post-production. So pre-production is just like everything that takes place before the show starts, and then production is like when the show is actually shooting and filming, like that's actual production. And then post-production is like everything that brings the show together as far as editing and all this music and everything, all those things, right? And so I started in post production, and so I never had a desire to do production at all. Like I didn't even know what production was, to be honest.
Right.
Um, my goal then, when I first started, was just to be an editor because I was like, they make good money, it's a stable life, um, and like I'm good at it, and so like my goal was to be an editor because like in TV, like you can make some stacks as an editor, right? And it's a gig that's never going away. Well, maybe not so much now, but um,
Are you saying that
AI
because of
is changing.
AI?
AI is changing the world. Listen,
No,
for
yeah.
real,
Yeah,
AI
we can
is
go on
changing
a
the game.
yeah, we can go on a rabbit hole on that one. My first
Listen,
guest, Herbie, he's a software engineer. He's super huge into that, and it's just he had told me this crazy thing. So not to freak anyone out here. Obviously, this is skepticism, and we're
yeah,
just going off what people are saying, what AI's been doing. If you're not
yeah,
keeping up with this stuff, your mind's gonna be blown if you really pay attention to this. But pretty
hmm
much a lot of our jobs are gonna be obsolete within 5 to 10 years, which
hmm
is crazy.
hmm
So
yeah,
not to freak everyone else out, but that's what Reese is talking about. Probably
yeah.
saying like that job's probably
Honestly,
out of commission right now. So,
yes,
anyways, go
yes.
ahead. Sorry, you're talking about editing.
Yeah, and so I got started with that, and so the lady who hired me for my first for the real world actually,
Hmm.
she reached out to me because I had been at the company now for like maybe like about a year now, and she reached out to me, and I had like other jobs in between that, but she reached out to me. She was like, "Hey, I had this this associate producer gig, and I was wondering if you'd be interested." And I was like, "No." I turned it down, right?
Yeah.
Because I just like it was just so far from like what I imagined my life to be. Um, and again, like I didn't know the first thing about production whatsoever. All I knew was post production, and so I turned it down. And she came back, maybe like I would say like a month later. She was like, "Listen." Just give it a try. If you don't like it, just come back to post. Like it's not that hard, right? Just give it a go. If you do, you can always come back to post if you want to. It's always there. So I gave it a try, and I never went back to post. And that was it.
You fell
So
in love
that
with
was
it.
it. I fell in love with it because like my first gig took me to Europe for a year.
Okay, say no more. This ended Europe for a
Exactly.
year. Say no more.
Exactly. And like and that wasn't like when I first started that gig, it wasn't meant to be a European gig, but something had happened to where it had to force us to go to Europe. And I was just like, yeah, this is it. Like first of all, I love Europe. I've always wanted to live here like long term. And now I have a TV job and I'm getting paid to be in Europe and live in Europe. It's just like it just all worked out for me. It really did.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well, no brainer. You're gonna pay me to be in Europe? Absolutely, I'll take that
Yeah,
in a heartbeat. Favorite
exactly.
country in Europe?
Oh, I mean, I like. Okay, the first thing that came to mind was Scotland.
Hmm.
But I like different countries for different reasons. But I actually lived half the year in Scotland, so I'm going back next week. Actually,
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
yeah,
so what's in Scotland? Tell me, because I don't know what's in Scotland. I've heard of Scotland, but
nothing.
I don't know
That's
what to
why I
expect
love
of it.
it. Well, I'll say this. So they have two major cities. You have Glasgow and you have Edinburgh. Shit, I don't even know which one is the capital. Oh, forgive me, y'all. Um, But Edinburgh is probably the most beautiful city you will ever see in your entire fucking life. It it's just like it's super ancient and gothic. Like the architecture is just unreal. It's just unreal. And like something about it just like calms my spirit.
Hmm.
It's unreal. And so even like when you go like further north, like the coastline, like these massive like ancient cliffs, and just like it's just untouched scenery. It's like this is what life has looked like in this particular part of the world since the beginning. It's just unreal.
So you feel like you're
Um,
traveling back in time a little bit, being
oh
there?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So like I live in a city called Aberdeen, and Aberdeen like it reminds me of. So I was conceived in Peoria, right? Peoria, Illinois, and I know you have a connection to Peoria too because I heard your podcast, but
Hmm.
Peoria, Arizona, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. Peoria,
Yeah,
Peoria, Arizona.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But the city called Aberdeen reminds me of Peoria because it's just like it's a small city, but it's like very connected, and it's like very alive, and just like it feels very nostalgic to me. So like for me, like Scotland is very grounding, it's very reflective, it's very introspective, it's very calming to my spirit. And so that's why I love it for that. But on the flip side, I live in Australia, in Melbourne, and Australia just like sets my soul on fire. Like I'm just on go whenever I'm there. I just feel so alive when I'm there. So it's like my yin and my yang.
No, I can understand that. I think that our surrounding environments have a lot to do how we feel, right?
100%.
I can get it to even more of a microscopic example in this scenario, right? So we're talking about different countries that make you feel that way, right?
Right, exactly.
So I'll take it to cities within Arizona. Okay, so I'll kind of
Okay.
give it to have you been to Arizona before?
I haven't actually.
Okay, well, whenever you come out here, you let me know. Well, I'll show you
I
around.
got you.
But
I got you.
so Arizona has, like, in the valley, what we call like the greater Phoenix area. We
Hmm.
have the downtown area, Phoenix, downtown Phoenix, and Scottsdale. So I used to
Right.
live in a city called right between Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. You want to talk
Okay.
about the six-figure cars, the G
Yeah.
wagons, the big ass
Yeah.
houses? That's it
Yeah.
right there, right? So when I'm living there, all it is for me is I'm looking at these cars. I used to take my dog, actually. My apartment is super interesting. My apartment was in this part of Scottsdale where it's the bordering line of Scottsdale and Paradise Valley, so a very rich area. So I could
Mhm.
walk my dog literally across the street to these Paradise Valley homes that are just gigantic $1 million homes, like millions of
Yeah,
dollars, right?
yeah,
And it used to make me feel like, man, I gotta get there. Man, I gotta grind. It fueled me up all the time. So I'm like this
yeah,
all the time, right? Like
yeah.
go, and I gotta grind, I gotta do this. But then I would notice when I would go to a different place, such as Pine Top. Okay, so
Mhm.
Pine Top in Arizona, a lot of people know this for the desert and heat. You'd be surprised to know that there's actually a north part of Arizona, Flagstaff, think of Pine Top, that is covered in trees. Different
Oh
weather,
wow.
absolutely beautiful, right? It is just
Oh
calm,
wow.
serene, and quiet. And I
Okay.
noticed this very big difference from something like that to if I go to Pine Top for a while.
Yeah.
I'm calm. Life is moving
Yes.
much slower. I
Yes.
feel at peace. I actually feel a lot happier because I'm not really
Yes.
focusing on all these things that are stressing me out because it's a
Yes.
visual for me every single day. You're
Yeah.
visually seeing all the stuff that one, the big pro gets you going, right? Like, yo, I can't stop until I make it. What am
Right.
I doing to
Exactly.
get myself
100%.
there, right?
Yeah.
But then you need those breaks where you go to somewhere beautiful. In this scenario
Yeah.
for you, Scotland, where you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Life is
Yes.
much simpler here, and there's a beauty to it that you almost start
Yes.
questioning yourself, like, what am I doing? Is
Yes.
this what I need to find? Is this actually my passion? What is going
Yes.
on? Like, there's this little identity crisis I get sometimes when I go to a place like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 100%. But you know what I realized? There's this thing called, I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's called astrocartography.
Tell me.
So basically, it's similar to astrology, but basically, like based upon where you're born and what time you're born, um, that kind of dictates the places in the world that makes you feel different types of ways, different types of emotions, right? So it's
Okay.
like I feel calm in Scotland because there's a particular like line that goes through it that resonates with my soul. And so I did like this, I did the astrocartography test, and like every place in the world where I felt most like at peace at was along this particular line that cuts through the earth. And it's just like you can't make this shit up. And it's like there was a line called, I think it's called the Meridian line, but it cuts through Melbourne in Australia where I live at. And so this line is about career and success, and it's about feeling at home. And it's just like, yes, that's why I feel those things whenever I'm in Australia, because like that line literally cuts straight through Melbourne. It's like you can't make this stuff up. So if you when you get a chance, like look into it. It's really interesting.
What is it called again?
Astrocartography.
Astrocartography. So does that have to do in line with anything with astrology?
It's similar, but not exact. But it is similar. They're like
Okay.
distant, like cousins. Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about what's that?
God damn. I got
You
one.
good, Reese?
Shit.
um, so since we're talking about this right here, right? It's kind of mystical about this line you're talking about. Um, let's get a little bit in the medium world. Can
Okay.
I tell you, this was the thing that got me. If there was anything about you that I was starting to get to know about, I was going, "Whoa, medium." That's what popped out to me. You
Mm.
are in the television business. How
Mm.
does this medium side of your life come into play? Also, would you like to tell people what a medium is?
Yeah, so a medium, in layman's terms, is someone that talks to dead people, basically.
Okay, there
You
you
know, they
go,
can
guys. You
they
heard
can
it.
yeah, like you have the ability to communicate with spirits who have crossed over, who have passed over. And so for me, it's hereditary actually through my maternal line.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like my mom has a gift of sorts. Not my grandmother's. Well, she does. She doesn't tell me, but my great grandmother has a gift. Like she can see spirits, or she did see spirits. And then her mother has something going on, like in Louisiana, with like snakes and shit, and I don't know, some type of spirit. But like it's maternal. Yeah,
Okay. How did
yeah.
you get into that? How did you find that out about yourself?
I've always known, but as a kid, like, I didn't know the words to put to it. I didn't know the names to put to it. But I've always known. I've always seen things like otherworldly things. I remember like when I was about 6 or so, I would like always see these little orbs like floating around like everywhere. And so one time I asked my granny, she's my great grandmother, I call her granny. And I was like, well, I keep seeing these. I was like, Granny, I keep seeing these things, like these things floating around. And she was like, boy, do you need your eyes checked? Right. But come to find out, that same granny is the same person who like would see her brother who passed away when he was like 6. So it's just
Hmm.
like, but she told me that like 20 years later, 30 years later probably. Um, and yeah, so it's like it's hereditary. It's hereditary. And it's I think what happened was like even though I've always known it, I grew up we grew up very Christian, right? So it's like that's just not what you discuss. It's not what you do.
Right.
Um, Even with my granny, she's very much a Christian, but like she's the one who told me that she also has the gift. But back in those days, those were things that you exercise, right? You just kept that at bay, on the low, or just did away with it. But in today's world, like we're much more open and receptive to like other worldly things, and so I've embraced it. Um, but I put it away for a long time. But it wasn't until this was again like my probably my second TV gig in LA. I was doing a show called The Bad Girls Club, and someone gave me the bright idea to take some mushrooms, magic
There we
mushrooms.
go.
And so I took some mushrooms, and then I had like this massive ego death. It was fucking terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Um, and then the next day, like something just like clicked, and it was just like whatever door I had closed to mediumship, it had just like came full force open, and it was just like boom. And then I was at work the very next day after my shroom trip, which is probably a bad idea because I was still kind of high, actually. Very much high at work. It was like the after effects, the afterglow of it all, right?
Sure.
Um, so I'm at my desk and I'm working on this show called The Bad Girls Club. Do you remember that show?
No, no, no. Tell me again a little bit about it. Maybe my ring
I
might
mean,
ring a
it's
bell.
it's just it's like the real world, but with all girls in the same one house, and they just like fight and cuss each other out in parties. It's
So TV Gold.
right,
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I would never do a show like that in today's time, but that was my start, so that's why I started where I
Yeah.
was.
Hey, yeah.
Um, but yes, I was on that show, and that was like this was like probably my first week on the job. Actually, I was a production assistant, a post production assistant. So I'm at my desk, and this girl walks past me, and it was just like I instantly knew things about her that I should not know as someone who doesn't know her, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably spoke to her like maybe one time, maybe just, and that was just like high and by. It wasn't anything up depth. And so she walked past, and I'm like, sorry, do you know someone who passed away whose name begins with the letter R? And she was like, yeah, like like very like taken aback. Of course, was like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was like, is there something to do with his passing, with this person's passing, and the number 8? And she was like, yeah. She was like, my dad's name is I don't know, let's say Robert or something. My dad's name is Robert, and he passed away 8 years ago today, and it's his birthday, and it was her birthday.
So okay. So this is where this stuff like I'm always interested in, right? So I don't think if I don't know. Oh, you maybe you might be able to see it up top. It's a pink book. You probably won't see the letters on it, but it's
See it, but
the Demonologist. Okay.
okay.
So I read on. I don't know if you ever heard of Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? The two
No.
biggest, pretty much I call not just ghost hunters, but they were demonologists, right? So they
Okay.
would travel out and about, take on cases of legitimacy or people who were just scared hearing things in the attic, right? And they would really investigate cursed objects, apparitions, so, quote unquote, the demon possession, right? So the spirit world I've always been very interested in, though my Catholic upbringing would tell me, a little
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
it, don't.
100%.
But you know what? We question things. We have every right to question things, look at things because you
Right,
never know, right?
right.
And here's my thing for you. This is where I'm curious to know when these things come to you, right? When these things come to you and you start to know things about someone, what is it that gets the message to you? What is it that you feel like? Why is it the letter R? Why is it the number 8? Like, is that fragments how it's delivered to you? Like, is it
That's
said? Do
how it
you
was
see it?
delivered to me. So there's two things. Whenever I feel spirit coming to me, I normally feel it in my legs first. It starts in my legs and my ankles, and then it goes up to like maybe like my the top of my thighs, and like it's like this very warm feeling. It's like
Hmm.
warm, a very warm sensation. Like it doesn't burn. It's just like I just get very warm in that particular area. I don't know why that area, but it's always that, and that's how I know I'm in the midst of like a spiritual connection. And so, um, and then that's how I feel it coming. But then when it comes to my mediumship, I'm very much what we call clairvoyant. So it's like I see things. I have the gift of sight. So it's like the spirit can show me, the number 8, or it can show me the letter R, or it can show me a memory that they have, um, or an object that is something that the person who's living can understand. So I'm a very visual medium when it comes to that.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate the insight on that, right? Because that's very detailed for us and for people who have never heard about it or never knew kind of what it was. I think it's a good breakdown for them to understand a little more. Reese, do you think because you're always going to find these people in this world, unfortunately, that scam the system and ruin a
Mhm.
beautiful thing in this life?
Yeah.
I personally, as an individual, I will tell you now, and anyone hear about it, I do believe in clairvoyance. I think that is a legitimate thing. I think there are people that are more in touch with the spiritual world than most of us are. I think that's a
Mhm.
legitimate thing.
Yeah.
Now, here's another legitimate thing that I think puts a bad name to this. People who use it as a con, right?
Yeah.
And I think I wonder if people so I don't think it's news to you that people try to do things like that, right?
Right.
They'll get a whole crowd together and be like, I'm sensing someone with the letter beginning with C. C. Anyone with the letter C? And someone's like, oh, that's me. Okay, okay. Did you happen to have this? No. I mean, did you have? You know what I mean? So those
Yeah.
people, do you
Yeah.
think do you think that's where they get it from? People who are legitimate clairvoyants who can feel this, see this, are getting these things that you get. Some other person, Joe Schmo, hears you say you things and goes, okay, so that's all I got to say. And that's how they go about conning people. Because I feel like it puts a bad name to people who are mediums.
Yeah, like I don't really know like where that whole thing started, like that side of things started from. Because I just feel like once you get to a certain point, it's like how can you be that good at scamming people when it comes to like something so spiritual? Just like I don't like to me that just seems like such a difficult task to do. Like how do you just make shit up like that? It's like I don't know. I just would not feel comfortable as someone conning people out of things like that and like scamming people when it comes to like something that's just like so deeply personal. Um, and just like makes puts such a bad taste in my mouth for people who do things like that. Luckily, like I haven't come across anyone like that, luckily. But I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they exist. But it's just like in today's age, like who is still buying that, right? Like
You'd
how do
be
you still have space to do that in today's age?
you would be surprised, brother. There are plenty of I have the same thought as you do, but then I'll find stuff or I'll see stuff online. I go, nope. There's still people out there who will believe in anything, and it's the people who are usually very desperate. You know what I mean?
I, I will say this. I will say that I think there are people, okay, for example, I think that there are people who you have a better connection with others than you do with other people. So it's like I may not give this person a great reading, but I'll give this one person an excellent reading. So it's just about the connection as well. The connection can also matter. And it's
Hmm.
like sometimes it depends on like how connected does the spirit want how much does the spirit want to connect with you as a medium, right? Because the spirit is very much like a person, like they have their own personalities, right? So they may not feel comfortable connecting with someone like me, right? They may feel more comfortable connected with someone who is a little bit more straight laced or whatever the case may be. So like I've had cases I've noticed about myself that because my dad passed tragically, I tend to connect with spirits who have passed tragically because I have a soft spot in my heart for that, right?
Hmm.
But other than that, like I don't really connect with people who pass like from old age or things like that. So it could be something like something to that extent to where it's just like you have a different connection based upon how the person has passed away, if that makes sense.
No, I think it does make sense. I think it does make sense. It's almost like the spirit, the soul is finding someone that it can relate to more. For whatever reason, there's
Exactly.
that worldly spiritual connection that's just more compatible, right? Like we
Exactly.
don't understand the
Exactly.
spirit world, but
Right. Right.
we just got to go with
Right.
what it is there.
Right.
Um, Another question on that for you is when you have these things happen to you, so it's more that it comes along unexpected. You're not really
Yeah.
channeling as much. Like you're not
No.
drawing out a spirit to come talk to you. If it
No.
happens, it happens.
And it happens. It happens. Yeah. And like I don't want to either. Like because it's also like very taxing, emotionally taxing and exhausting. So it's like I used to. like full on just do mediumship, right? Like especially during COVID, and then because I didn't have anything else to do. But I just don't want to anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I
Not that
get
I
you.
don't want to, but like I'm not. I don't seek it out. Like if it comes and like I feel led to give a message, then I will. But like I'm not making it my whole life, right? Because it's like it's a piece of who I am, but it's not all of me.
Right, right. And well,
Yeah,
I think it's good to use it as it naturally should be intended, right? Like if it's a
exactly.
spirit try to reach out to you, you
Yeah,
deliver the message that it gives you, or whatever you get out of that, right? But you're not seeking for it, or you're not trying so hard to draw from that world because, as we also know, there are some pretty scary things that can be drawn out too.
oh yeah, and also it's like you don't want to ever connect with the spirit when you are not in a good place, right? Because that
Mm.
invites spirits of a low vibration, and you want to always stay with spirits of the light, always spirits of the Most High, always.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for giving us intro there to Medium 101. Guys, you're more interested, look at Reese's page a little more. Hey, look online a bit, right?
Yeah,
Well, so there's the medium power part of your life. Let's talk a
yep.
little bit about the musician piece, man.
Oh yeah.
I did see a reel where you're taking, I think it was a 90s sample, Monica?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Monica, just one of them days. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell me about
Okay.
that. When did that piece come into play?
Like my music is just overall.
Yeah. You as a musician.
Well, well, I've always been so I come from a very musical like background. So, like my earliest memories are of music. Like me in the car with my mom, and she's like playing just all types of old school '80s and early '90s hip hop and R&B. And so like I've always been drawn to music. And then when I turned 13, I was like, I want to make music. And so she bought me a piano, and I learned to play by ear. I have a very great ear for music, and that's why I then went to school to learn how to like do it more professionally. But I've always like since I was probably 13, 14, I've been making my own beats. I've been writing my own songs. So I've always been a writer. I started off writing actually. So my first like realization of like of the creative world was that I have a gift of writing poetry. I had
Okay.
like this assignment in eighth grade, had to do a poem, or seventh grade, had to do a poem, and that's how I knew that I was gifted in writing. And so then that's turned into me writing my first screenplay when I was 13, like a full-fledged screenplay. And then that turned into me writing TV series, and then that turned into me writing like songs. And then I would just couple that with my now developing skills for musical production. And before I knew it, like I was like making full-on like albums in high school. Not that I was releasing anything because it was just a different time. Um, but I then went to school for that, and I just realized that it's what makes me the most happy. But I got my I got my start in television first, so that's why I went with it. But music was always like my heart, always. Like I always say that TV is my profession, music is my passion.
And then we do a little
So
medium on the side though.
exactly right, exactly.
No, that's
But
awesome.
like like it's like in my downtime, well, like right as of right now, like I'm trying to like really make music like my main career, my main focus. But it's a little like scary to bet on yourself, right? It's
For
like
sure.
when you have been in television for so long and like you can make this amount of money in this amount of time and it's a guaranteed paycheck, like that becomes like very comfortable, right? But are you really happy?
Mm,
So like yeah, TV is fun. Like it's we get to travel for free and we get to stay in free amazing hotels and all the things, and we get to be amongst the stars and what have you, and then meet people around the world from different productions and whatever. But it's like, are you happy though? Like it's just fulfilling, right? And like realistically, in the television world, we work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, sometimes more. It's just like I don't really want to do that for the next 30 fucking 40 years. I just don't.
mm,
Right. So it's fun for now, and like I love the flexibility that it's given me, and like this a lifestyle that it affords me to. Like I'm in fucking Bali right now, right? And I haven't worked in like 8 months, but like I'm still able to like maintain. And so I love like the flexibility of it all. But it's just like when it's all said and done, I'm most happiest when I'm in the studio, when I'm cooking up some fire beats and writing some songs from my heart. Um, and so I just have to like really lean into that. And so as of this year, I was just like, well, I'm gonna really focus on my music, and that's it.
That's awesome, man. And I appreciate being so open and being real with us here, right?
Yeah, bro,
To
always.
some people, they would look at you and say, "Oh my gosh, I want that life. I want to travel. I want to do that." And you're doing some amazing things, but it's cool for you to be real about, look, I love, it's been a blessing to be what you're doing, but it's not necessarily your passion. Your passion is more in music. That's what you love. That's where you want to see yourself.
Right. And it's like again, like I do love TV. Like not that I wouldn't ever do it again, but like it's not all that I am. And it's you have to listen to yourself when you are being pushed in a different direction, and I'm being pushed in a different direction right now. So again, like if a TV gig called me today and say, "Hey, can you come do this show for a month?" Sure, I'll come, right? But I always know that the end goal is music, right? And I just you have to bet on yourself. And yeah, it can be, scary, but it's just like I'll never forgive myself if I give up trying.
Hmm.
I have to at least give it a go.
Facts. Or you never want to look back years from now and go, I wish I would have given that a shot.
Nah, bro, like I'm fucking talented. Like, and I know that I have a gift. Like, I have such an amazing ear and like such a unique sound. Like, no, I know people always say this, but like, no one sounds like me. It's like my sound is so fucking unique. But the problem that I've had was that I am the writer, I'm the producer, I'm the creative director, I'm all those things, right? But I'm not always the vocalist, right? So because my songs are very R&B heavy, and I'm not necessarily a singer. I can like, carry a note here and there, but like I'm no John Legend by any means, right? And so my problem was that I can't always perform the songs that I write, which are some of my
Hmm.
favorite songs. So like I've been hitting this brick wall. It's like, well, I have all these amazing tracks, but like if I can't perform them, like it's pretty much useless. Not useless, but like, just I can't go do an open mic or I can't go do those things, right? And so I was talking to this guy yesterday here in Bali, and he's a multi-millionaire black dude from New Jersey, super down to earth. Met him at my health club, and we're like chatting. I'm telling him what I'm telling you, and he was like, why not just position yourself as a DJ, like DJ Khaled, and
Yeah.
market yourself like that? He was like, because that way, like you can play the piano, you could then hop on the mic, you can then bring on singers to sing what you can't sing, you could then have performances. It could be a whole like thing. I was like, oh, and it was just like light bulb moment. It was like that aha moment. Like, yes, like that really encapsulates all of who I am, from my TV background to my performing background to wanting visibility to being a producer. Just like it just really encapsulates like all that I am. And I can do
Yeah.
all of that under this guise of like a DJ producer. Just like
Yeah.
boom. And
It-
so like so now like that is my goal right in this very moment. So like for this next 30 days, I'm gonna learn how to DJ and just go with it.
I love it, man. Well, with that kind of ambition and determination, I can't see why you wouldn't be the next DJ Khaled. Why not? And you
Right.
know what?
Exactly.
You're saying, well, I'm not really the vocalist, whatnot, but listen, Khaled's not really a vocalist either, but you're still gonna hear the "We the best." You
We're
know
the
what I
best,
mean?
right?
Yeah, he's gonna put it out there. I mean, shit, I don't have the
Right.
best voice, but will you see me at
Right.
karaoke singing Frank Sinatra? Absolutely. But I'm not
Right.
Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin, right?
Right.
But if I
Right.
get the
Right.
opportunity as a DJ, I'll throw my voice in there a little bit. What's it
Yeah.
matter? You know what I mean? So you get
Yeah,
the best of
yeah,
both
yeah,
worlds
yeah.
there.
No, for sure, for sure. But it's like my songs are very R&B heavy, and like I'm not gonna be on stage looking crazy like that. Like I know my strengths, singing ain't it, but I could produce my ass off. I can write my ass off. That is my strength, and I'm such like a creative director to where I can just visualize and conceptualize just a whole set. And so I just need to like lean into my strengths, and like those are my strengths, and bring people who on board who they have what I don't.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's great, man. Well, I'll tell you
So,
what. And I know artists, producers are very secretive and they want to keep things on their wraps till it's the right moment, whatnot. But if you ever want to practice a beat out, I'd love to broadcast it as an intro or outro music, give you the proper credit, put it out there in the world. You just let me know. I'd be happy to help you out there.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely with that. Yeah, I'm actually
Perfect,
dropping
man.
a new album next month. Next, probably in 2 weeks actually.
Okay. Are you gonna drop it on Spotify or YouTube or anything like that?
All of it. It's about all the platforms. Yep.
Perfect, man. When that happens, just let me know. I'd be happy to put you on the story too to let you know that they dropped the album. That'd be awesome.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting, man. This is cool. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Thanks,
okay.
bro.
So we hit all three parts that I wanted to about your life. Obviously, music is what really drives you. So I
Yeah.
have a feeling this answer is going to revolve around music. But Reese, you listen to the podcast. You know what question's coming up. Here we go. The 10-year game. Where
Let's
does
do it.
Reese Armstrong see himself 10 years from now?
Woo. Married.
Okay.
Well, maybe not. I won't. Well, that's. I'll say this because I love the idea of marriage and like the whole ceremonial aspect of it, but I don't necessarily need that paperwork that comes with it, right?
Hmm.
But like I do want like the ceremony. I want the
Sure.
family and friends coming together. So I do want that. Definitely I want a family. I want at least 4 kids. Um, that and I see myself being a resident in Australia, and also having some sort of residency in the UK. So I want to have like a house in Scotland and a house in Australia as well, raising my kids probably in Australia for the school year, and then we go hit up Scotland for the summer. Um, so that's ideal, and definitely owning my own production company, which I do have right now. But like I wanna, scale it to a larger size and like really produce and create and produce my own um, TV shows, like drama series, scripted series, and my own films, and then also having my record label, Reminiscent Records, and producing my own artists, and just having all the time that I need just to create and put it out there, and let the world have it. So next 10 years, family, kids, residencies in Australia and the UK, and having my a thriving production company and a thriving record label.
Manifest it, brother. Keep manifesting it because I tell you what, ain't nothing that can stop you from doing that. That energy you
Right.
carry with you, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be surprised you get there sooner than 10 years. Just do me a favor. You get there, don't forget about this podcast. Come back
No,
on.
I
Do a full
never.
cycle moment, all right?
I
Will you do
got you. Yeah,
that?
no, for 100%. You got my word, bro. You got my word.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it, brother. Well, you hear it.
So,
That's the 10-year plan for Reese. I think it's a great 10-year plan for you. Another thing I'd like to ask you for anyone who's starting in, let's go with TV right now, okay?
mhm,
Someone who's
mhm.
really looking to make it on there. Maybe they're going to school for it right now. What would you tell someone who really wants to get to where you're at in life with producing?
Oh, I would say that you really have to utilize your network. So, for example, I've been in TV 10 years now, and I've never had to apply for a job because
Mm,
your name speaks for yourself. And so in this industry, your name is all that you got. So whether you are doing, it's like how you treat people matters, your work ethic matters. I always say this, whatever, like what you know will get you in the door, but like who you are will keep you there. So it's
mm,
like if you know you treat people kindly, you may not be the best worker, but if you're the hardest worker and like you are the most genuine worker, like people will be more willing to work with you if you have that potential to like become better, right? So I always say like treat people kind because like it goes such a long way. It goes such a long way. You never know who's watching, and someone is always watching.
yeah.
um, and I would also say like people think that you need to go to school to become a producer. Like you don't, honestly. Like so many people that I know like don't have a degree in television. Um, because a lot of it also is just who you know. So it's like if you know someone who maybe has their foot in the door some way somehow, like reach out to those people, and like it's such a massive network of people that you can always like find your way in, especially nowadays. Like there's something like Facebook groups for like production assistants and things like that. And most people start at the bottom, which is like a production assistant, and then they work their way up. So like my first job, I was a logger, where like it's equal to like a production assistant, right? Um, and so I would utilize like those Facebook groups where like it's called production assistants not needed. I would utilize hashtags on Instagram or social media like production assistants needed. Um, and I would just say like don't ever like compromise your self-worth. Like don't ever feel like you need to become someone else to get to where you want to be. Don't ever feel like you need to um like take a position um, just because you think something else won't come, because something else will always come, right? So like I've turned down many a jobs because I'm like, I understand that's not for me, right? And then something else comes along that's better. That does feel more aligned with who I am. So I'm just very intuition led, and so I always, encourage people to like to lead with their intuition, to be led by their intuition. So if it feels good, go for it. If it don't, then don't.
Well said, my brother. Some really
Yeah,
valuable insight, guys. There you go. Young
yeah,
people, old people, who cares? You get trying to get in TV. Here's some
yeah.
strong words right there from Reese. So I appreciate you, man. Um,
Yeah,
well,
no
as we're
problem.
about to wrap up here, just real quick, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, is the Instagram handle the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes, you can hit me up on IG at Love Reese and Soul, LoveReisandSoul.
Perfect. And
Um,
I'll put in
yeah,
the episode description just like I do with anyone else at the end of the
yeah.
episode. So, guys, you'll have a way to get a hold of Reese. I'm not kidding. You heard me early in the podcast. Look at this dude's profile. Live a little bit. Come on. You ain't been in Bali. Look at this man's life right now. All right.
I have that
Um,
tattoo on me actually. Live a little.
there, there you go. There you go. He's got
Literally
a
on my
tattoo
arm.
saying it. So do it, guys. Live a little, all right? Or look through someone else's eyes to live a little until you get there.
Yeah.
Reese, I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
This
sure.
is a fun episode for me. I'm glad we were able to do this. We had some technical difficulties when we started the episode. I was starting to
Oh,
get a little worried, but we figured it out. We got it done for you guys.
yeah.
It's a great episode. Reese, last thing before I get the outro going for you, anything you want to plug out there for people to be on the lookout for? Anything that besides the album coming out?
Oh, no, that's like the new thing that's coming. So, well, yeah. So be on watch for that, and also like my new DJ um persona that I'm taking on. Just stay tuned for that as well. A lot of good things coming with that. So,
All right.
yeah.
All right, perfect, brother. Well, guys, as the outro music's going, thank you again for another awesome week. Let's talk about this way. We have an amazing guest here, Reese Armstrong, everyone. You know how you'll be able to connect with them. Also, for the outro music right there, a special shout out again to the band Hannah. Appreciate all the music you guys let me do with the intro and outro. Guys, give them a listen. They're an awesome band. Thank you, everyone. Keep the likes going. Keep the comments going. Keep the downloads going. I really love what I'm doing with this podcast. And we get people on like Reese, just shows us more how much beauty there is in this world with different paths in life. So let's take this as a testament right here. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We are out. Bye-bye.